Hello my friends, welcome to The Big Picture. It's wonderful to have you joining us again at the Living Ministry Media Studios for week 4 of our Sabbath School Bible Study Ministry Development Series. Each week we aim to take you on a journey deep into the core issues of the week's Bible study. We want you to be able to present the key issues of the week's study in an uncomplicated way. We want to enable your presentation of the weekly Bible study at your church. We want your presentation to be both relevant to the times and biblically authentic. Each week, we'll have discussion starters that you can use in the Bible study group that you lead at your church. I'm Pastor Gary, mentor and chaplain to the Living Ministry Media team. This week, we move right into Daniel chapter 3 and uncover a story of 3 men who are called from the furnace to the palace. It's happened to Adventist university students for as long as I can remember. Each examination period, students will have exams listed by the secular university for Sabbath. Each year they will approach me and ask me to write an official letter explaining why they're unable to write exams on Sabbath, and then to certify that they are members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In Australia, the universities know Adventists and have generally been very accommodating and allowed students to be supervised to write exams after the close of Sabbath. It hasn't always been the case, however. On more than one occasion, that permission has not been granted. I know of one young man who had to change courses because universities refused to consider such a variation. I know of another who had to travel to a distant country to achieve qualifications that could have been obtained locally, but key elements of the local course occurred on Sabbath. You see, standing up for your faith can be costly. Our Bible study this week is based on Daniel chapter 3. This story would rate as one of the best loved with those who teach children, and it concerns 3 men who stood when the expectation of the state was that they would kneel. Please remember, this story was not written for children, but for us, upon whom the ends of the world has come. You know the story well. It starts with a villain. That's King Nebuchadnezzar himself. Many commentators suggest he's reacting to the huge image that was the feature of his dream in the previous chapter. To me, this actually seems more than reasonable. If this is so, we have self-exaltation and we have a brazen statement of open defiance against the God of heaven. In this case, Nebuchadnezzar is openly declaring, "You say there will be kingdoms after mine, but I say my dynasty is forever." Then there are the heroes who stand up against the might of an autocratic bully. They challenge the state. They stand when everyone is kneeling. They defy popular opinion and refuse to worship when political correctness says a quick 2-second acknowledgement would resolve a PR disaster and save lives. Finally, we see the supernatural rescue of the men by a hero who is like unto the Son of Man. He doesn't stop them from being thrown into the fire, but rather he delivers them from the burning fiery furnace that's been heated 7 times more than safe operating temperature. As you present this week's Bible study, there are 2 issues that I believe you might want to draw out of this story. Firstly, you might want to consider the matter of worship and the legitimate role of the state. Consider what Nebuchadnezzar has done. This man has attempted to use the power of the state to declare precisely how worship is to occur. This makes the story so relevant for us today. In so many countries, the state is attempting to control religious belief. So often, this results in persecution. If you're teaching a Bible study group this Sabbath, could I suggest that this reality gives application to our contemporary world? Perhaps you might like to ask this question. In what areas of our world do you know of that are currently suffering under religious persecution? Why not take 5 minutes with your search engine to look for statistics related to Christian persecution? This is a largely hidden epidemic. Christians do not realise the true extent of this absolute travesty. Better still, if one of your locals has a personal experience with religious persecution, why not let them share? After they have shared, why not stop and pray for that person or for these persecuted groups? Pray that they will be made bold and wise and strong. After spending this time in praying, you might want to discuss these questions. Questions like, does the state ever have a role in the control of religious practice? Or perhaps, what parallels can you see between the experience of Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego and what Revelation 13 says is going to happen in the future? This is actually covered in Monday's lesson. The second issue you might want to discuss is the problem of faith in times of persecution and hardship. This problem is powerfully expressed by Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. These men are being persecuted for their faith. But notice how they address the king. This is what they say. "O King Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O King. But if not, let it be known to you, O King, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the golden image that you have set up." If you're leading the Bible study of the week at your church, why not pick up on this point? I know it has challenged the thinking of many people. It's a wonderful thing that these men were delivered, but through the centuries, many other martyrs went to their deaths with a full knowledge of this story. Even Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, while expressing absolute confidence in God's power, were fully aware that God might not answer according to their desire. In your Bible study class, perhaps you might want to dig into these questions. Do you believe that these men would have had their story recorded if, like so many others, they had simply died for their faith? Why does God choose to save the lives of these 3 men when so many others seal their faith with their lives? What does this story and Hebrews 11 have to tell us about faith? Finally, this story has an absolutely wonderful conclusion. As you conclude the Bible study of the week, please don't overlook the supreme climax. The remarkable reality of this story is that these 3 men were not just delivered from the burning fiery furnace, but they got to walk with Christ in a very unique manner. These men are delivered by Christ, not from being thrown into a furnace, but rather he chose to walk with them when they were in the furnace. When all others had deserted them, it's Christ who appears. It's Christ himself who walks through the fire with them. That is that is a powerful conclusion. Well, my friends, that's it for this week. Thank you for teaching from the pages of the book of Daniel. This book is an absolute treasure. It gives wonderful confidence. It gives hope. It gives direction. It even clarifies what real faith is. It's supremely relevant for the era in which we live. May the Lord richly bless you. I'm Pastor Gary Hodgkin, really looking forward to seeing you next week.